Hello, everyone. We are back live again for another Author Live Chat with Fans series. And today, Tuesday, your next page turners episode, 8th December 2020, 8 a.m. We are live again on Facebook page, and this is actually a special episode because we have two guests joining us who are actually friends or who have known each other well, who are also authors, and they are authors of fiction books, and they will be joining us for our show today. And the two of them are actually Dr. Wesley Britton, and also Karina Kantas. Dr. Wesley is actually not a stranger to our show because he has appeared on two of our shows before this. So, a little bit about Dr. Wesley. Dr. Wesley earned his doctorate in American literature at the University of North Texas in 1990. From 2007 to 2015, he was co-host of online radios Dave White Presents, broadcast over ksav.org. And he's blind due to progressive genetic disease, which is called retinitis pigmentosa. Wesley served on the board of directors for Vision Resources of Central Pennsylvania for 14 years. And starting in fall 2015, his science fiction mystery espionage series, which is the Beta Earth Chronicles, debuted with the groundbreaking The Blind Alien. So The Blind Alien also won the 2020 Recommended Read Award from Author Shout. And Karina Kantas is a prolific author of 13 titles, including the gritty MC thriller series, Outlaw, and the exciting young adult fantasy duology, Illusional Reality. She also writes short stories, and when her imagination is working overtime, she writes thought-provoking dark flash fiction. So there are many layers to Karina's writing style and voice, as you will see in a flash fiction collection, Heads and Tails, and in Undressed, as she opens up more to her fans, giving them another glimpse into her warped mind. So without further ado, let's welcome the two of them to our show today, Dr. Wesley and Karina. Hello, Karina. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for bringing on that warped mind.
Thank you so much for joining, Dr. Wesley, and also thank you for joining Karina for our show today, your next page turner. And so Karina and Dr. Wesley, this is something new for me because I've never had two friends join my show. So this is the first time that I'm having authors who are also friends who have known each other very well. So Karina, could you briefly introduce yourself to our audience and also how you have known Dr. Wesley?
Okay, I'm Karina Gantus, author of 14 books. I write in all different genres. I am also the host of the Artist First Radio Network on Author Assist radio show. I run Author Assist, which helps authors with their marketing promotion. And I've been working with Wesley for, I think I could say 4 years, maybe longer. I don't know, it seems forever. He started off as my client. We've become very, very good friends. We talk nearly every day. And basically, I do everything for him that he can't do in referred to his books and his writing.
So, Dr. Wesley, it is a pleasure to have you for the show again. I think this is the third time you're joining us for the Author Life Chat Show, and it has always been a pleasure to talk to you, Dr. Wesley. So, Dr. Wesley, can you like briefly explain to our audience today about yourself and also how you got to know Karina and yep.
Well, all right. Yes, I'm Dr. Wesley Britton. I had my PhD in 1990, like you said before. I've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books out now, 3 of which were hardback from Prager Publishers dealing with spies. And then the 4th book, Encyclopedia of TV Spies, was my first book for Bear Manor Media. And that ended my spy era. And then in 2015 is when I started the Beta Earth Chronicles, which is now kind of split off. The main trunk of it is finished off with the Third Earth, which I guess was book 5. And then I've got these cast of new characters. I got 2 different streams going. One is Return to Alpha, which is our planet in the future, and the other are spy stories set during the Almond War on Beta Earth with children of the Renburn tribe. Now, when Karina got started, I guess it was 3-4 years ago, like her, I don't remember when it launched, but we've done all kinds of things over the years. The other day, she surprised me because I was working on a passage in my Under an Alien Moon story, and I asked her feedback on this one scene. So that's the first time you asked me that. And that took me back. Really? After all these years? Yeah. She does a lot of promo stuff, hooking me up with book magnets and looking for reviewers. And while we're doing self-publishing now, we started with Alpha Tales 2044. We got 2 in the hot paper, and I want to revise Return to Alpha and got all of this stuff, and Karina's with me every step of the way. I want one just like her when I grow up.
But I think before we actually met, I think you were ready to finish with Beta Earth. You were finished with the collection. It wasn't until I said to you, we need some short stories, that you started writing, and then we did the Alpha,
Alpha Tales
2044, and that was from all the short stories that I forced you to write. And then, of course, it was my idea as well to start self-promotion, self-publishing, to keep your published work with Bear Manor, but to start publishing your new work as a self-published independent author. And that's how it all started, and we've gone on from there.
It's true. It is true. Actually, there's several times along the way I thought I was done with Beta Earth. I thought I was done with the 4th book. And then I sent the characters over to the Third Earth. And then I decided, well, let's bring the story to our Earth in the future, which meant a whole new generation of characters. And they were the characters that Chris is talking about who populate Alpha Tales 2044. And I have to admit, those are some of my favorite stories are in that collection.
We get when you're inspired and you're told what to do.
Karina and Dr. Wesley, so the 2 of you actually met online.
Yes.
Is it how you got to know each other?
I think he was a guest on my radio show. Yeah. And after we kept in touch, and then he hired me as a VA, and we've just gone on from there.
Yeah. Like she says, we talk just about every day, a lot of emails, and we do like a Zoom once a month. And strategize.
Right. So, in terms of writing, because I know the 2 of you actually write a lot of fiction books, right? So, Karina, when was the first time you read Dr. Wesley's book? Or read his work, and what was your impression about his work?
Well, I put my hands up, and I admit to every client that I've worked with, I don't have the time to read novels. I don't have the time to read their books. I go by people's opinions, blurbs, reviews, and I get the impression of whether they can write or not. And in my opinion, Wesley has something totally unique, never been done before. He's a fantastic author, fantastic writer, and the reviews that he's had have been 5-star reviews because, and everyone says the same thing. It's just so unique the world that he's built. What Wesley does, unfortunately, which we're trying to get him out of, is he's a very creative writer, and he likes to go into details quite a lot and explain maybe too much backstory. Whereas a lot of readers, we want to get to the nitty gritty, we want to get to the conflict, we want to get to the action, we want to keep in the story. So I'm training him and his critic group that he's with. They're training him now into trying to get to the not so creative writing, but to not to be so descriptive. So we're all working together to get Wesley to do that. And his short stories are totally different from his novels. But his Beta Earth collection is so unique. It's so amazing. I've read a lot of his short stories. I've formatted a lot of his short stories. But I haven't actually read any of his full novels because, as with my job, I just don't have the time, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, I mean, in terms of Dr. Wesley's characters are one of the very distinct characters that I can remember from the previous interviews that the book, I mean, or rather the character about the blind character, right? So I think that is pretty interesting because I think he has put in a lot of effort in terms of creating a character that is very much relatable to his own experience. What do you think about that, Karina? And what kind of feedback that you've also gotten, and even Dr. Wesley has gotten about
Well,
that?
when we say, especially our first book, write about what you know, write about what you've experienced. And with Wesley being blind, I mean, he can relate to what his character's gone through. Of course, he's never woken up in a new planet with a language that he didn't understand, and people doing. Yeah, not yet anyway, and people doing experiments on him or whatever. But Wesley was able, because of experience in the blindness himself, he was able to get into the character, make the character relatable, and for the reader to understand what it's like to be blind and in that situation. And they say, like I said in the reviews, if you read the reviews, it's such a unique concept, what he's done with Blind Alien and how it first started out.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, Dr. Wesley, I mean, have you gotten the opportunity to read Karina's work, and what did you think? I mean, because I think you got to know Karina as a client. You were Karina's client, but soon after working with her, did you get the opportunity to read her book? And if so, what do you think about her work?
I read one of her books, The Duology, and I wrote a review of it. And I wanted to reread that review this morning to prep for this interview, but just didn't have time. So her book's not fresh on my mind. Do you remember what I said about your book, Karina?
I can't offhand, but you've read both of them. You read book 1 and book 2.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's why I said duology. Yeah, you're right. But I haven't read any of her outlaw books or any of those yet. Because I'm like her. I kind of, my second job, sort of, although I don't get paid for it, is book reviewing. And I got a pile of those. I just finished one yesterday. I've got one I need to get to finish off pretty soon. Actually, I've got 1, 2, 3 that I have to do soon. One's an assignment for book pleasures about Sherlock Holmes and Liza Doolittle of all things. And two are on Star Trek. No, one's on Star Trek. One's about science fiction screenwriting, and one's about pirate stories around the universe. So my reading time is kind of devoted to the books that I'm actually reviewing. So that's why I took the opportunity to review the duology, because that way I could read some of Karina's stuff and get into that world of hers. Why don't you tell the folks something about that?
I'm going on to Goodreads now, where you actually posted the review. So give me 1 second, I'll find that review for you.
Mm-hmm. Right, Karina, I mean, in terms of working with Dr. Wesley, and also I think you being an author yourself, what do you think about uh, reaching out to the readers out there? Because I think finding the kind of readers that would like to read your work is probably like, you know, your tribe of readers is a daunting experience. Is a bit, it can be a little bit difficult. So how do you actually navigate through the challenges that we all have in terms of finding the right group of readers?
Well, I definitely got to tell someone to Karina. She finds all of these websites and book promos and book magnets and review sites. Man, she's very good at that.
Yeah, it's getting his book out, getting his name out, and no one's going to buy a book from an author they don't know. So they need to know who Wesley is first. So that's the first thing to do, is to let them into who Wesley is, and then show some sort of excerpt to show that he can actually write, that he's not he's not one of these Kindle authors that can't even write, that he is a professional author, and he does take his work really seriously. Once they know that, and then they can find out what the book's about and read reviews and what have you, see trailers, read, listen to narrations. We do a lot of cross promotions with other authors of science fiction. So that means that his book goes into their newsletter and their book goes into his newsletter. Now, if you do 4 cross promotions and you've got maybe 4,000 subscribers, then maybe 300 of those subscribers are going to see his book, and you've got a chance of finding new readers that way. Facebook is a great place for promotion, not so much now, as they've really built a wall against us authors to promote on their site. So it's finding other places now and getting the word out to new readers, finding a new marketplace, which I started with Wesley. He's always thought of his books as science fiction. And I've said, no, first of all, there's a lot of fantasy element in his collection, Peter Chronicles. Now, when we started working on the short stories, I said we can find new marketplace, new readers, bring in some crime, bring in some horror, bring in some thriller, and then we're covering different genres and now looking for different readers of that genre. And that's what we've been doing. And so we're just marketing his books as sci-fi now. We're marketing them as crime, as thrillers, and we're finding new readers that way.
Right. So
yes, like this.
Yes, Dr. Wesley?
I said, plus doing interviews like this.
Exactly.
So one thing that I noticed is that a newsletter. I noticed that you mentioned about newsletter and also getting people to subscribe to your newsletter. So I think that is one of the most important aspects of trying to build your own community, right? So what kind of feedback or how do you actually find that the building the list, you know, the newsletter list itself, and also reaching out to them, are they responsive to what you have to update them, or how has it been so far? Or do you think that it is much better to reach out to people on Facebook as compared to newsletter?
Yeah, I think you've definitely got a bigger range, and you know the people that are subscribing to your newsletter actually want to hear what you have to say about your books. Whereas on Facebook, you're telling them about your books, and you're lucky if people, first of all, get to read the post, and secondly, if they can or not. With subscribers, they wouldn't subscribe, they wouldn't open the newsletter if they didn't want to know his news, his latest news. To get new subscribers, we use what we call reader magnets. And that's basically you get a free short story and you then subscribe to his newsletter.
Great.
And then we give more free short stories to all the new subscribers. So, you know, they get something back for joining up with his newsletter. We have excerpts of his work in his newsletter. So they always have something to read. It's not just about advertising other people's work. It's about his books. We need them to know what his books are, and excerpts and character cards, and letting them get more into his warped mind, and letting them get more into who Wesley is. That keeps the newsletter fresh. It keeps it every month, once a month, and it's always something new going on inside. We never repeat ourselves. We've never done the same excerpt. We've never done the same promotion or whatever. It's always something new and fresh in the newsletters. But yeah, to get new subscribers, we use reader magnets, and that works really well. Or builders. For that, you actually pay a little bit to join the promo, but then at the end of it, you might have 200, 300 new subscribers.
Right. So, Dr. Wesley, in terms of getting new subscribers and as soon as, because I believe that your free chapters will go out to them as soon as they subscribe to your newsletter. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from people as soon as they read your freebies? Have they gotten back to you with their feedback, Dr. Wesley? How has it been?
My favorite responses happened just last week. In the last newsletter, I posted, instead of writing, putting a Beta Earth story, I talked a little bit about my disability and my feelings about reader responses to disabilities in science fiction. And this one guy wrote back immediately and was telling me about some vampire series with a character who's got retinitis pigmentosa like I do. And I responded to him and thanked him for that. And I posted his note at my Goodreads blog. And then he liked that and he responded and he told me about some other stories. I haven't got that yet, Karina. I just got that the other day and got bogged down to my writer's critique group stuff. But talking about disability in science fiction kind of sparked something there, and I was glad about that. Before that, it kind of depends. It's usually the responses I get from fellow authors, especially people I've reviewed their books. People like my book reviews, and especially if I do them nice terms. But I forgot what the question was.
Right. So, yeah, talking about disability and fiction, right? So, how, I mean, like, in terms of readers, and why do you think it is difficult to reach out to people, get the awareness out there, to spread the awareness about difficulty, I mean, our disabilities, actually? So, what do you think is the challenge? Do you think that people are not able to relate to the characters because they are not in the characters in the shoes, of the characters, or what do you think in general about that?
That was a question I raised in our last newsletter because I was commenting about all of the reviews of my books that readers rarely ever respond to disability. They mention all the culture that's in it and all the customs, and because I sometimes think I don't really write science fiction or cultural anthropology, but I seem to avoid disability. And I commented on that's what's inspired Keith to write to me. I don't know why that is. That's why I brought that question up. I do know that over the years, disability really defines who you are. If you've got a physical disability, people can see. If they can see you in a wheelchair, if they can see you with a white cane or a hearing aid or something like that, that defines you on the spot. That's been like that all my adult life.
Yeah, that's so wrong.
And
that's so wrong. I have a disability. I have serious health conditions. People see me now and like, oh, you know, you look fine. Yeah, okay. But if I'm walking around with my walking stick, and then people will open doors for me, and the traffic will stop to let me pass over to cross the road. But if I haven't got my stick, I look fine, and that is so wrong. And it was actually, I'm saying me again, it was me, and you have to admit it was me. But I actually said to Wesley for the last newsletter, I said, let's talk about you. I want people to read your newsletter and know a day in the life of Wesley Britton. What is it like? And so he did. He wrote a small, a few paragraphs about his life and his blindness, and that's when he got the message back from an was it another author or?
I don't think he never mentioned that. I don't think so. His name is Keith. I won't say his last name because that would be cricket.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's nice when readers get the chance to know an author, not just because he's got a disability. And I admire Wesley so much for what he's done since he's been blind, for what he's achieved has been absolutely amazing, and I admire him so much for that. But it's like for myself, I do my readings online, and I do a lot of face-to-face live feeds on Facebook talking about myself, and they want to know who this author is. They want to know their life before they go out and spend hard money on their book. And I've just found your review, Wesley, of Illusional Reality: The Quest. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's focus on you for a while. I like that idea.
All right, okay.
If that's all right, of course.
This is Wesley's review of The Quest, and I'm not sure if he read this one before the first one, because I got a publishing contract, and both of them I had to rewrite both books in a totally different point of view, which was absolute nightmare. And I love my editor to bits, because since then I've won awards on my books, and people are really taking notice of them. So I love my editor. Okay, so while it first appeared in 2016, it was only full last when I read Illusional Reality Volume 1 of Karina Ganter's, then in progress, the duology. Now Volume 2, The Quest is here, and I'm more on target in terms of timing. Firstly, I freely admit I like The Quest more than its predecessor. Shouldn't have said that, should I? It carries on the story of Princess Aya and the magical land of Ticinia. Like Book 1, the story opens up with the princess living on Earth using the name Hannah. This time round, she knows prophecy says that her people will reach out to her again, asking for her to return to her realm as gender amateur. This time round, Hattie, Aya, is also responsible for her son Alex, the result of a union with the forbidden lover Alcazar on the fantasy world. At the end of Illusional Reality, Thaya thinks Alcazar is dead. Now Thaya thinks her main sacrifice may be leaving her son Alex and taking the reluctant throne from people without him. After the setup, the story is very different from the plot of Illusional Reality. Thaya remains a stubborn, willful, strong-minded, often to the extreme heroine who sets out with a small company of companions to take on the dark forces of evil. So it's like Tolkien's Ring, doesn't it? Part of the journey takes the party through a harsher desert populated of sandworms. Sounds a bit like Frank Herbert's book. Well, only a few passages. Happily for Thaya, Alcazar wasn't killed and joins her once again. You're giving everything away, Wesley. These are all secrets. You're not supposed to say secrets like that in my review. The quest encounters a series of vividly described obstacles, monsters, alien species, and Thaya's strange double-edged powers. There seems to wax and wane as she tries to control a dark side to her. In short, there's a lot going on in this journey to save Thaya's people that are currently living in caves after being chased out of their homes while their princess lived peacefully in England. Fortunately, readers don't need to read Illusional Reality to jump into and fully understand what's going on in the quest. In the first chapters of the fast-paced yarn, Gantus fully lays out what happened in the first book to her readers. More fantasy than sci-fi by miles, the quest should appeal to readers who like settings and characters vividly described with well-developed flaws and motivations. Readers who like strong female protagonists should especially like meeting the complex and often conflicted Princess Thaya. In addition, the quest seems a perfect young adult novel, as I often found myself thinking back to De Camp and Andrew Norton's adventures that I enjoyed when I was YA myself. Nothing profound here, nothing preachy, lots of fantasy tropes young readers enjoy these days, and a nice layer of romance to boot. And that is book 1, Illusional Reality. And this is book 2, The Quest. And you can get them in paperback and on ebook on Amazon. And then we're on Kindle Unlimited as well.
Now that you read that, I got floods of memories about those books.
That was, I mean, the book covers were really amazing. I mean, were they done? Yes.
It's 2 books, a duology, but each book is actually a duology in itself. We have Becky on one side, Thaya on the other, and then this side we have Thaya on one side and the evil part of her on the other side. She starts out as good, but she's not an evil person, but she has a side of her, another will that's evil that she has to control.
And her conflicting motivations really brings the story to life when characters are not all two-dimensional and you know what they're going to do and expect how they're going to behave and all that. Limiting, but not with Karina's characters. Huh? No, there's a lot of depth to them.
That's what a lot of the reviewers say, how unique the book is, that it's not a normal stereotype fantasy. There's no dragons, there's no unicorns, there's no wizards, there's no hobbits, there's no elves. Everything is unique, made up from my imagination. And that's what the readers love about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, Karina, in terms of reaching out to readers, especially those who love reading different types of characters, right? So, what is the best feedback that you have gotten so far through newsletter? The kind of feedback that you've gotten.
I don't get, unless I ask questions and ask for people to get back to me, I don't normally get letters from readers. If I do a promotion or a giveaway, of course, I hear back from everybody. But yeah, the only time when I ask them a question or something, it's I've been doing my new book, which is not fantasy, but it's something a totally different genre, and I've been doing chapters in every one of my newsletters, and now it's getting to getting very violent, get very sexual in parts. And I said to my readers, do you want me to carry on posting in the newsletter? I need to know. It's my subscribers who don't want to read it. Not one person get back to me and said don't post it. So as far as I'm concerned, they're quite happy with carrying on reading it. So until I hear back from them to say they're not, we'll see what happens. Maybe I lose subscribers, maybe I don't. But nobody got back to me, but I did ask them to.
And you got on me for that one thing you said was too violent from Blood of Balakan.
Yeah, I was when you gave me that excerpt to put in the newsletter. I should have read it. I really have read it because I didn't realize how violent it was. I didn't realize what the scene was about. We didn't have any complaints and we didn't lose any subscribers, which is good. But I've learned my lesson now to definitely read what you send me before I post it.
I didn't think that thing was all that violent compared to a lot of stuff I read.
Right. So, Dr. Wesley and Karina, I mean, in terms of because 2020 has been a very tough year, and I would think a lot of people have gotten more time to stay at home and also to read more books. And probably, like, I think authors would have gotten the opportunity to write more than usual. So, uh, did you did you start writing anything new in 2020? So, if yes, what is it all about? So, Dr. Wesley, have you started writing anything new this year?
Yeah, I've got all kinds of little things in the hopper that start and then I let them drop and then come back to them later. Like one short story that I completely revised for a contest. But now I'm in the business of revising 6 short stories. 3 are going to end up in one book and 3 are going to end up in another. And I'm putting all these passages out to this critique group I belong to so I can bring them up and, I'll add what, I just think about them. And then hopefully Behind Alien Lines will come out early next year, I'm guessing. And then I can get into the Mary Carpenter stories. I can't call them new, but I'm a big believer in revise, which of course means a lot of cut, and add.
Now you are. Yeah, now you are.
What? Sorry, what? I missed something there.
I said now you're into revise, only because people have been telling you.
Oh, no, from the very beginning. Oh, I mean, yeah, Blind Alien in the early years on that one was a whole lot of revising because there was a whole lot of stuff I put into kind of world build to show the cultures of Beta Earth. And then I came to learn that a lot of that stuff just bogged the story down and didn't move anything along. So a lot got cut and dumped. Will never be seen, which is a thing. But
right. So in terms of coming out with the new book and also publishing, so what I mean, have you seen people reading more books, or have you noticed sales going up, especially now during the pandemic? What is your observation like?
one observation I've noticed of late is people that I talk to walking down the street or just in groups and things, there's a lot more people who want hard copies in their hand rather than reading ebooks or Kindles, which kind of surprised me. I went with Bear Manor Media for the series because in those days I was talking ebook. They're cheaper and they're easier. But there's an audience out there that I didn't take into account for who wants, something to hold in their hands, old-fashioned books. So that's a big direction that we're moving in for the independent publishing, is making sure we got print copies available for readers interested in print copies.
I mean, that is, I think people get tired of, screen time, and I think that is the reason why they want to move away from anything that has got to do with technology, screen, right? So probably that's one of the reasons people are going back to paperbacks, flat cover. I think it is more it is more fulfilling in terms of reading something that you can hold on to and just read instead of just staring at the screen, right?
And they get
So
it autographed.
yeah, I mean, so Karina, are you writing anything new at this point of time? What are you into?
I want to hear.
Yeah, I'm writing a number 2 of a dystopian um, erotica, but it's a sci-fi. This is the first one, Toxic. It's a little pocket book. We like little pocket books, and so it's a collaboration with another author. She's keeping hers clean. I do
Mm-hmm,
erotica, but it's exactly the same story, and then we give the author the choice of which kind of book they want to read. So we've been
mm-hmm,
working on Toxic 2, and I've also written in the last few months a dark mafia thriller. I put
mm-hmm,
this straight on Wattpad for the public to read. Every time I wrote a chapter, it went on to Wattpad. The first draft is going to stay on Wattpad. It's on Inkit as well. Um, I did the second draft the last few weeks, and it went
mm-hmm,
to my editor a few days ago, which is really exciting. I've got the cover sorted as well. So that's, again, another genre for me. I step into every genre I can. I love fantasy, and I'll probably write fantasy again later on. But I like switching and trying out new genres. So dystopian and erotica was totally new for me. And the dark mafia romance thriller, again, totally new genre. But I've absolutely loved doing it. And in terms of sales, what you were saying, I've definitely seen an increase in paperback. Not a
mm-hmm,
lot, but I've seen an increase in paperback. But what I haven't seen, and what these promoters keep on sending you emails saying, "Oh, now's the time to get your book out to in our magazine and website because everyone's buying ebooks." No, everyone's not buying ebooks. I disagree with that completely,
Yeah.
because what they're doing is they're reading from their Kindle. The 500 books that they downloaded in the last few years and didn't have time to read, now they have the time to read. They're emptying their Kindle. And once their Kindle starts getting empty, then maybe they'll start going out and buying books again.
uh-huh.
But that is what's happening. That is what's happening. They're reading, and we're getting reviews now, and they're reading, but they're not buying, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So not buying, I mean, I think in terms of the current um, economical situation that we are in right now, and also in terms of the purchasing power, I think a lot of people are trying to save a lot of money for the rainy days, and that's also one of the reasons why I think those who would like to stick to ebooks, I think this is the reason why they like to stick to ebook is because it's a lot more cheaper. That's
Gee.
one. Yes, that's one thing. And also talking about audiobook, because I think a lot of people now they are giving it a try, giving audiobook a try, right? So, what do you think about audiobooks? I mean, especially Dr. Wesley, what do you think about audiobooks?
I would love to get into audiobooks, but that's an expensive project because you got to
Mm-hmm.
get who can do that, and then that's kind of my price range right now. Because I've been reading audiobooks forever. Could be I'm a member of the Library of Congress Bard program, so that's all I do: read books on my little Victor Streams, what they call it, reading machine. And so I've been reading audiobooks forever. That's all I know, reading books. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you get my books in audio, that would be great. You know any cheap narrators out there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've gone. I think he's totally forgot what we did a few years ago. I set him up on Audible on ACX, which
Mm-hmm.
is free and doesn't cost you anything because you go 50-50 with the narrator. and the narrator becomes the editor as well. You're not paying anything. You're putting your audition tape up. You're then hopefully getting some auditions. You listen to the voice that you want to keep. You agree on a contract 50-50 with royalties. Not costing you anything. Yeah, you can't remember that. You and me have got to have a chat soon again about that. We've got to get Blind Alien into audio. We have to. As for myself, the whole reason I went with a publisher for the duology was because I'm in Greece, I can't go to ATX and find a narrator. I can't even narrate my own books, and I am a narrator myself because I live in Greece, something to do with the tax purposes. So there was no way of me getting my books into audio. So when this English publisher came to me and said, you know, we'll do it and we'll get it into audio. And I was like, that's the only reason I signed, was knowing that they could do the audio books. And it's funny you should say that, because we found the narrator. She started work. She sent me a sample of reading a few scenes from my book. We went on camera. We did some work together where we got the tones of the voices correct, what we wanted each character to sound like. She sent back some recordings because she weren't sure about the pronunciation of certain words. I sent back recordings of how they were supposed to be pronounced, and it started work. The work started a few weeks ago, and I'm so excited. And it's going to take a week or two before we get the actual audio book in my hand, so to speak, to have a listen to. But that's the reason I signed up with the publisher. Otherwise, I'd still be self-published, because I am with all my other books. But it was because I wanted to get my books into audio, and I really want to get Wesley's Blind Alien into audio, and we will chat again about that soon.
Right.
I wondered what happened to that, now that I think about it. I think it's because my Blind Alien's kind of tricky to narrate, but I don't remember anymore.
Right. So in terms of trying different genres, right, Karina? I mean, you mentioned about trying different genres, so I think that's pretty interesting. And I think Dr. Wesley has written books, non-fiction books as well. So, Dr. Wesley, I mean, would you like to talk about your non-fiction books briefly?
Well, my writing career really began back in the 80s when I was getting a PhD. I wrote a lot of nonfiction. That's what I did for ages. A lot of it was reviews and essays and articles I wrote for encyclopedias for a long time. And that's kind of what expanded. Well, I was also a poet for a while. For years, I got some notoriety for that in Texas. Excuse me, I'm sorry, my throat feels so craggy today. When I moved back up here, I had a big change because I've been writing all that short stuff all that time. I wanted to switch over and write books, get out of all of these articles and essays and things like that. And that's when that's when the spy book started, because I was looking around my office, and nobody has done a book about spy TV yet. They do specific shows, but not the whole genre. So with that idea, I ran, and that became Spy Television with Prager Publishers, which led to Beyond Bond, which led to On Screen Undercover, which led to Encyclopedia TV Spies. And at that point, I decided I'm sick of spies. I thought I would try something different, and the Blind Alien came to me. And again, I don't really think of, a lot of the reviews don't think of it as typical science fiction. There's no spaceships, there's no weird fantastical creatures or anything like that, but setting up different cultures. When you talk about world building, that was the big thing. Is one thing about Star Trek, it always drove me a little nuts, but I understood why, is the Enterprise would sail around the planet and there'd be one person to talk to, maybe two, maybe there's two factions. Unlike Earth, where who the heck would you talk to? There's all these different countries and languages and everything. I thought one of my things in the series was to do that. Have my character move along from culture to culture and one side of the world to the next as the whole family experiences new places on their own planet. And so it really pushed that uh, acceptance and tolerance thing, being able to be included and accepted into new cultures and new places that you're not familiar with. That was something I really, really worked on in the Beta Earth Chronicles. Again, I forgot the question. What did you ask?
No, you've answered it. You've answered it. What Wesley's done is he's gone now into more what I would refer to as hard science fiction. And that makes it horror, that makes it chilling, because he's talking about stuff that could happen or is happening. And when you say science fiction, people might straight away think aliens and spacecraft, but it's not. Science fiction is to do with science. It's to do with viruses. It's to do with finding cures. It's to do with terrorism and stuff like that. And his short stories and the collections that he's put together now are more hard sci-fi with the genres of thriller, horror, crime mixed in, which makes it a different genre. He's writing in a different genre than he started with the Beta Earth Chronicles, and that's the frightening part, is because a lot of his short stories refer to what is going on in the world now, not talking about the COVID virus, because he's already got his own virus already written in his book, a totally different kind. But he's already written what's happening now. He's already written that story, so this is hard science fiction, and that's what makes it a chiller. And he's definitely gone the right way with these short stories.
One thing I'll say about world building, which was a topic we thought we might get to today, maybe not, is when you're creating a different planet, like Beta Earth or Cerebrum Earth, and on the fifth of the series, you've got a completely blank slate. You're inventing everything. But with Return to Alpha and all the stories that are currently ongoing, they're on our planet in the future, which all of a sudden requires a whole lot of research. You know that readers are going to know the geography, so you got to use the geography. You know that readers are going to know all kinds of things because this is our planet in the future, yes. And how to learn about global warming. If you're going to write about a planet after global warming really hits, well, you got to find out what that would mean. I did pandemics, before we had COVID. And now I'm learning, as I'm working on the Mary Carpenter stories, that they're set in the future. And now you got to mention the pandemic, at least in some way. So I've a whole scene where she sits at the kitchen table with her parents who met in 2020. And she was a result of that. But you got to, pandemics before when I was writing about them, completely out of the blue, just likely terrorism from the Middle East and that kind of thing. Now, the origin of this plague is still under question. But since we're through a pandemic, or we're going through a pandemic, that colors anything that I can write about the future, because that's part of who we are now. Big change.
Yeah. It's a total game changer now, because these science fiction authors that are writing about a futuristic world, the pandemic's already happened, and so they're going to mention it. It's part of something. It's part of their history, because they're writing about a new history, but in our world. So it's a game changer for science fiction authors, definitely.
That's definitely a new way of looking at things, because I think only when you've mentioned that, I came to the realization that, yes, in fact, a lot of authors have already written about this kind of pandemic. And, I think it came to their minds already way before we are experiencing all this. So it's going to be way more interesting for readers out there, especially those who like science fiction and fantasy, to expect a whole lot of new interesting books to be released by these authors, because I think that will be like new aspects of sci-fi that's going to come, that is going to, like, blow the reader's mind away just like that completely. Because and I think in that sense, it also puts a pressure, or not to say pressure, but I think it puts an expectation towards the science fiction writers and also the fantasy writers, because they are now required to think out of the box and just, you know, deliver something new to
With
readers.
fantasy, with world building, you're always out of the box because
Yeah.
nothing exists. Like
Mm-hmm.
Wesley said, you're on a total flat space and you build it, and everything exists
Amarosa, yeah.
as you want it to exist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of readers now, I mean, a lot of writers now are already releasing books about the pandemic, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to read books about the pandemic until it's over and done with, and we get back to as much as a normal life as we can, because we're living in science fiction now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Who knew
Yeah.
that we weren't ready for this? Who knew it was going to happen? We're living in a science fiction film. We're living in a dystopian world right
Yeah.
now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's terrifying. That the authors have already written about
Correct.
what we're going through.
Right now. Yes. Yeah. So I mean that's definitely going to be interesting, and especially for science fiction and also fantasy lovers. I think they would have come to the realization that, oh yeah, all those fantasy books that I read like probably 10 years ago, 5 years ago, here we are, in a pandemic, and it's finally coming true. I mean, we are going through all of that right now. So yeah. So with that, I think we are coming to the end of the show already, and I will be leaving the links to your books, both Dr. Leslie and also Karina, your books, on the comment box. I'm not able to do it right now because I'm actually streaming from my mobile phone, but I will be doing that just shortly after our interview is over. I'll be leaving all the links on the comment box. And
Thank
so
you.
before we end, Karina and Dr. Wesley, do you have anything to say to the readers, or do you have anything like maybe a giveaway or any kind of promotion that is coming up that you would like uh, viewers to pay attention to?
You go ahead, Wesley.
Well, I was about to say, I want to hear more about your new book, especially all the erotica. I've never heard.
I've no idea when that will be released. You've got, like I said, Toxic 2. We're Me and the author, we're near completion of the first draft.
Mm-hmm.
With Broken Chains, which is the mafia thriller, you can actually go onto Wattpad or Inkit, and you can read the full book on there for free. But it's the first draft, so if you want to wait until the actual real book, the
Mm-hmm.
polished manuscript is ready, then you'll have to wait till it's published. I have the duology, both of them are on KU, Kindle Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
Many of Wesley's short stories you can get on Amazon Kindle Unlimited as well. They're only 99p to buy, so there's no excuse they can't buy them.
Mm-hmm.
I have on the 10th of this month, Undressed, which is a collection of flash fiction. It's got some science fiction in it as well. And poetry and prose is free on the 10th of December, so everyone can go over onto Amazon and download that ebook for free.
Awesome. Right. So we've come to the end of the show, Dr. Wesley and Karina. Thank you so much for joining us today and for making the show even livelier. Uh, thank you so much. And I am hoping that those who are watching this will be able to go and check out your work. I'll be leaving the links later on the comment box. And it was a pleasure talking to the two of you. It was really good because I was trying this out, the Friends series, just to see how it turns out to be, because I am very sure that it's going to be very lively, knowing that we have people, a bunch of people who know each other, and then they come on screen and share about their work, about their writing experience. So thank you so much actually for taking time and to join us today, Karina and Dr. Wesley. I will be sending the link for our interview later on. And
Thank you.
actually, people can already start watching this. The replay will be available right after the interview is over. It's going to be available on Facebook. And I'll be putting it up on YouTube as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Wesley and
Thank you for
Karina, for
having
joining.
us. Thank you. It's been
Thank
real.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.